with North Korea or with China. You know, they cite the Iron Lady syndrome of Margaret Thatcher. They cite the fact she voted for the Iraq War, that she's buddies with John McCain. And there's an actual concern among millennials, which is why one of the reasons they supported Bernie Sanders. My question, though, on the firmness of the US commitment, it seems more than the policymakers in Washington, there's an issue out there in the country. It goes back to the Vietnam War, but the issue is the mass mobilization of the US citizen soldier to fight a war. The last time we did that in Vietnam. Now, after 9/11, we did have patriotic Americans come forward, including Vice President Biden's son, Governor Pence's son, Senator King's son. But the vast majority of the people who have fought in Iraq and Afghanistan have been working class minority, small town youth. The middle class and upper class white Americans don't go in the military anymore. And so they know if there was a fight, if Hillary got into a fight over the Senkakus with China or a fight with North Korea, we're talking about, you can't fight that kind of a war, I don't think, with the volunteer army. You're talking about a mass mobilization. And the thing that Trump and Bernie Sanders were appealing to with the public, this, you can call it neo-isolationism or build a wall. It doesn't seem to me among the American public, the true thing is that anybody is ready, especially the younger people, the millennials who would have to fight the war, are ready to go marching off to fight Kim Jong-un or fight over the Senkaku Islands or fight Putin in the Ukraine. So that's the real question I have. Isn't the question about American commitment less so what the politicians say, but really an underlying attitude of the American people that shifted after Vietnam?
Thank you, Dennis.
Well, we can do a whole conference on this. So let me just offer a few thoughts. First, I think what you said is right. I mean, the all volunteer force came in after, it was halfway through, toward the end of the Vietnam War, and it was to take the war, the country was being pulled apart, by the draft and other things. And as a matter of principle, I think it's better to have a military of people that want to be in it rather than those that don't want to be in it. So there's a way you think about having a military. And our dilemma for having having a military that's, within peacetime conditions, we only need to take 1 out of 6 or 1 out of 7 people and to put them into military service. We've never found an easy way to do that with a draft. So what we did is we gave exemptions, and the people that have money and connections were able to take advantage of it. So the poor and minorities served disproportionately inside of that. So there's no real easy way to do it, and an all-volunteer force really is, I think, superior. It does have the quality that you described, which is most Americans are disconnected from their military. They don't feel that it constitutes their personal commitment. We've been at war for 13 years, but I go to Georgetown on Saturday nights, it doesn't feel like Memorial War. It doesn't feel like that at all. The all-volunteer force has held up well in a prolonged war, but America is not engaged and committed to this because we do have this one. And this is a real issue for us to work through. I doubt we could solve that by putting in a draft. I think we'd have real problems trying to do that. Or my personal favorite is mandatory service, because I think everybody would be better if they served their country for some period of time. But again, when we only need 1 out of 6 or 1 out of 7 of them for the military, what do we do with the other 6 or 5 or 6? And we've never been able to get our head around that, so we haven't done any of that. These are valid issues you bring up. I think I agree with you, the millennials, there's a very disturbing with this election was what a high proportion of people there were that voted for candidates who repudiated the orthodoxy of American foreign policy. That's a real worry. When you get 40%, well, I don't know what the real support is of Trump, but right now, I think, say 80% of the Republicans are gonna vote for Trump, and Trump is really quite candidly an isolationist. What does that mean for us? What does it mean when Bernie Sanders, who really, he does no legislative accomplishment that I know of, but he got nearly 40% of the Democrat vote, and he's a flat-out isolationist. So what does this mean for us? There are a huge question about us traditionalists having to revalidate the foundation of America's foreign policy. It's obvious that they're not buying our shtick, We have to really address them now. Why is this in our interest? Why do we have to do this? Why do we still need to have 40,000 Americans in Korea? 60 years after the war. Those are valid questions. And I think they're real good reasons. But we have to start talking to the American public in a very different way than we have. So I take your critique very well.
Could you take just one more
Okay,
question?
yep,
Then we'll let you
yep,
go.
yep.
Okay.
Would you speak louder? Okay. Speak louder for me.
Yeah.
Dr. Henry, you shared with us very valuable insights and observations. Of that fifth observation interests me the most. And I'd like to ask one question and offer one suggestion for you, because you're an influential man, not just talking, you can have influence and policymakers.
I'm talking about mother.
The question is this: you observe that there is a new and increasing alignment of strategic interests involving ROK, China, and the United States. But there's not so well-aligned relationship between China and the U.S. on South China Sea and Taiwan, and trade issues and others. So how would you see the good alignment surrounding Korean Peninsula can be compromised with other less sort of disalignment in other areas? That's my question. The second one is a little more important to me. Everywhere we go where Korean issues are discussed, we talk about paradox, dilemma, and everybody points out how it is difficult, not easy answers. Korea is an issue of lousy choices, as everyone points out. The reason why it is so lousy is this: we want North Korea to become denuclearized. We want North Korea to respect their people's human rights and feed them a little better and so on. But the way North Korean system is established now, the current regime and allowing greater human rights or denuclearization is in their minds a suicide. Nuclear weapons and then the human rights and what we want, that they are the regime survival on the one hand and development of nuke and the human rights violation are like inside and outside of our coat. You cannot have one side without the other. This is a problem of all the dilemmas and paradoxes that we point out. I think it's best now to realize and find there is really no solution. Only solution, I think everybody, as you call it, the Kurt Campbell, he agrees that there's only one solution: unification of Korea. And I think you perhaps know that, but nobody talks about it. How do you make it surface? Now, on that, going back to that alignment of tripartite alignment, isn't this the topic the United States should bring about with China? Not so much to talk about solving problems with the current division as inviolable reality, but rather talk about developing relations with Korean Peninsula after unification. How can China and the United States, to live in this limited world we call Earth, work it out? Because united Korea is inevitable. It is going to come one way or the other. I mean, our way, I think. Free and democratic, open society is the only way, and I think China sees it, China knows it, China cannot act on it unless the United States bring that to the table. Somebody talked about not mentioning this regime change openly. Don't talk about it openly. Talk under the table. Talk just amongst you, but make sure you involve ROK and make sure ROK looks as if it's leading the charge.
Thank you, Jay.
Well, let me just very briefly just say, there are only two countries that are really interested in unified Korea. South Korea and the United States. I mean, those are the only two that really are interested in unified Korea.
We can make others to see it that way.
So now, but the big transition is, I think, what you'd have to step back and objectively say is that Xi Jinping has concluded that South Korea is more valuable to China than North Korea. This is a big shift. Now, it's not to the stage where he's willing to force the collapse of North Korea, but he has decided South Korea is more valuable than North Korea. We're making progress. Okay. We're making progress. And I totally agree with you that we would do a lot better to put more focus on unification. And if you forgive me for this shameless advertising, but if CSIS go to Beyond Parallel, we've got a whole website that's dedicated to the issue of unification.
Thank you for that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's give John Okay, John. Since you did a great work, this is a small token of Philadelphia. That's your name on it.
Thank you.
And also there's a small sporting hat. And also US-Korea Alliance symbol. Take
Go
it with
together.
you. We go together.
We go together.
And next time I visit you, I will see that.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Where's Michael? Hey, Michael. All right. Alex?
Thank you, Dr. Kim, for this uncommon opportunity to introduce the featured speaker to our distinguished audience today. Dr. Michael Green is a Senior Vice President for the Asia and Japan Chair at CSIS and a Chair in Modern and Contemporary Japanese Politics and Foreign Policy at the Edmund A. Walsh School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University. He served on the staff of the National Security Council in 2001 and 2005, first as Director for Asian Affairs with responsibility for Japan, Korea, New Zealand, and Australia, and then as Special Assistant to the President for National Security Affairs and Senior Director for Asia, with responsibility for East Asia and South Asia. Before joining the NSC staff, Dr. Green was a Senior Fellow for East Asia Security at the Council of Foreign Relations, Director of the Edwin O. Reischauer Center and the Foreign Policy Institute, and Assistant Professor at the Paul H. Neese School of Advanced International Studies at Johns Hopkins University. He was also a research staff member at the Institute for Defense Analyses and Senior Advisor on Asia for the Office of the Secretary of Defense. Dr. Green is also currently a non-resident fellow at the Lowy Institute in Sydney, Australia, and a distinguished scholar at the Rebuild Japan Foundation in Tokyo. He's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, the Aspen Strategy Group, the America-Australia Leadership Dialogue, and the Advisory Board for the Center of New American Security, as well as the editorial boards of the Washington Quarterly and the Journal of Unification Studies in Korea. Dr. Green is also an associate of the U.S. intelligence community. He has authored numerous books and articles on East Asian security. His current research includes a book project on the history of U.S. strategy in Asia, a survey of elite views on norms, power, and regional institutions in Asia, and a monograph on Japanese strategic culture. He has received his master's and doctoral degrees from SAIS and did additional graduate and postgraduate research at Tokyo University and the Massachusetts Institute for Technology. He received his bachelor's degree in history from Kenyon College with highest honors. He holds a black belt in Iaido, and has won international prizes in the Great Highland Bagpipe. He's also spoken for the ICAS audience in the ICAS 2002 Fall Symposium and the ICAS 2004 Spring Symposium, respectively. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Green.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. I do play bagpipes. I've even played in Korea. In fact, my topic today is dialogue and whether or not the new administration in the U.S. might pursue dialogue with North Korea. I'm pretty certain that I'm the only person to play bagpipes north of the DMZ since the Battle of the Hook in 1951 when the Black Watch fell off several divisions of Chinese. I was with Dong Kim when we went in October 2002 to Pyongyang for the first negotiating session between the Bush administration and the then Kim Jong-il regime. And I had a small set of bagpipes I played in my room in the Corean Hotel that night so I could brag to all my Scottish friends that I was the first piper north of the DMZ since the war.
In the back of the hotel.
No, but it was interesting because they had, we were fully monitored. The room to my left, the room to my right as was all of our rooms, were full of North Korean agents. They searched our room every time we left, and they had cameras, and I'm certain they were absolutely perplexed, which is an extra bonus. I didn't get to hear my boss at CSIS, John Hamry. I only heard the last few minutes. So if I contradict him, let's just keep that between us. And with that as a caveat, let me open up, and I look forward to the distinguished panel's reactions and comments. On this question of whether or not the U.S. Will or should engage in dialogue after the new administration comes on board. So my answer to that question broadly is, sure, why not? And I say that because I think dialogue has largely been discredited